Good morning from the place they call the basketball capital of the world, Gampel Pavilion in stores, where UConn and Creighton meet coming up at noon on Fox. Sean Fanta here with the former Husky great Donnie Marshall, taking some time to tip off Big East Shootaround. Donnie, there's nothing like starting a Saturday in college basketball inside this building for a big game.
Yeah, listen, breakfast, brunch, wherever you are in the country or in the world, this is how you want to wake up. This is how you want to get the first part of your day going. Two great teams, obviously going in different directions, but this is going to be a phenomenal matchup because there are so many similarities between the two.
It's a 14-2 Huskies team that's coming off back-to-back losses on the road, granted, against a Creighton team that all of a sudden has won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
They come into this one on track. And how about the way that these two teams match up? What do you see?
Listen, when you talk about size inside with Sanogo and Kalkbrenner, you know what you're going to get there. Great matchup. Who's going to stay out of foul trouble, I think, has to be the thing that you watch. In terms of guard play, Shireman, Nembhard, you have guys who are tried, who are tested, and then you go the other way and you think about what Hawkins and Jackson do on the other side. Art Kaluma, to me, will probably be the X factor in this game. Andre Jackson can't guard anyone. I talked to him a little bit earlier, and he wants to guard every position on the floor. He wants to steal every live ball. And I'm like, you can't do that. You just have to be a disruptor. That matchup, I think, between Kaluma and Jackson is one that you have to watch. But the other part is, Danny Hurley has some guys off the bench who can really disrupt, who can really come in and affect the game. We've seen that already. How deep can Greg McDermott go into his bench? That is the ultimate question.
Big number that I think sort of exemplifies where UConn is going into this game, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts. In the last 2 games, not about making, but they've taken 59 three-pointers.
Yeah.
Like, how much more do you think maybe attacking the rim, getting back to dribble penetration is needed for the Huskies?
Yeah, I think that's big. They're not a ball screen team, so they're not going to run a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of down screens, a lot of double screens for their shooters. But a lot of those threes, in all fairness to them, I think are desperation. You know, the last 2 games, I would guess somewhere between 10 and 12 of those threes taken were in desperation, trying to get back into games. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I would read a lot into those threes that are missed and how they're missed early in the game. That means under duress, teams are scouting them better. They're scouting Jordan Hawkins. Coming off those screens, they're jumping at him now with another defender. That, to me, is what I would focus on. But you're absolutely right. I think anything that involves Adama Sanogo in the post clearing out is how you have to start the game if you're UConn. You have to continue to take open shots. We know in the past, Greg McDermott has told his guys, we want to take 53s. That's fine, because it's going to beat your 52s. it's just math.
Even I can get that.
Exactly, you and I both.
Yeah, right. This game's coming up at noon on Fox. He'll have the call with the great Brandon Gaudin. Let's look around the Big East for a little bit here. Providence has won 8 in a row. They're 5-0 in the conference. You had them recently.
Yeah.
You've had them a bunch this season. How has Ed Cooley's team evolved?
They're finally coming together, understanding who they are. 7, 8 new guys, understanding that Bryce Hopkins is the guy. And Bryce Hopkins is such a great leader that he's not a narcissistic player.
Yeah.
He understands he needs his teammates. And they're continuing to play Providence basketball. It doesn't matter who's in the uniform. It doesn't matter what coach is on the sideline. You go into that building and you play against Providence or you play against those uniforms, they're going to fight you. They shoot 36% against UConn and win the game. That tells you a little bit about how good they are and how they understand their roles much better at the beginning of the season. Ed Cooley and his staff guys to buy in.
You talk about country. There's one happening. Marquette is 4-1.
Shaka Smart.
Yeah.
Close to Shaka. I think in him with Shaka Smart, he makes you feel that you're going to win no matter what the numbers may look like. Like you're going to win, and he's playing at a high rate. Again, a team that defends as well, but they're scoring the ball. They are a scary team.
They've won 8 in a row. today. Crucial for our team that's desperate for that. Musketeers have never won at Villanova this year. Your thoughts on that? Miller's brought back to Xavier.
Listen, again, names change. It's the same for Villanova. No matter, again, I do believe that they're starting to play who they are. You get the young guys involved. Villanova basketball is not what it was. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You have to approach it like it's the same Villanova team that had won. Miller has done a phenomenal job. He's back, not having the guys understanding. Listen, let's just do it together. Wonderful guard. We talk. You also have to talk about the bigs. I mean, it is the year of the so near and dear to my heart. I love involved, but there are teams, most complete teams at Xavier Country, not just in our conference.
Look, there's a lot of fun games on the schedule.
Yeah.
One that both teams have marked on their call in this matchup.
I am. I think as it is athletic and pace as it is about time. Greg McDermott, the UConn staff on trying to change what they have. I don't think they're going to let that high and what they're running into on the other side. Selfish team of Creighton. Talk about these teams a lot at the top of the big. Two of the most complete teams are on the
great call at noon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John.
Speaking of how deep this conference, talked with Dan Hurley in the preseason of the Big East. Here's an inside look.
Blue collar, a real winning mentality. A program where there's a peer pressure, both as coaches and players, to want to achieve more than we have, wanting to live up to doing what past coaches and past players have done here. So you feel good about where we've taken it from year 1 to year 4, but we're still not doing the things that UConn deserves. I think the 3 returners that we've invested heavily in and are betting heavy on are obviously Adama Sanogo, who I think is one of the best big guys in the country, and Andre Jackson, who has the talent and athleticism to be a dynamic player, and then Jordan Hawkins, and they all play completely different types of games. Andre Jackson is like a freak athlete that's just flying around the court like he's on American Ninja. You've got Adama Sanogo, who is just a punisher around the basket and a dominator. And then you have this incredibly just beautiful, sweet shooting guard in Jordan. So when they don't bump heads, they all have skills that complement each other, and they both have a connection from having been teammates. From a basketball standpoint, you get these, programs throughout our league that have incredibly rich traditions. I think, number 2, you have some of the best coaches in the country are all coaching in this conference right now. And then I think it's just the purest form of basketball in terms of the way we play it. It's incredibly physical. Every possession feels like life or death, because the games are always 1 or 2 possession games, and you've got incredibly passionate fan bases. You've got some of the best coaches in the country, and then the games are played like a battle or a war.
We thank Dan Hurley for the tech here with you from Gampel Pavilion, joined by CBS Sports report writer Seth Davis here on Creighton UConn, which is on Fox, and other observations. I sit down with Rob Footer for the Creighton Blue Jays, determined to make a statement today as the Jays visit. A look around the league. Breakdown of a buffet of folks. If you had returns, if you were thinking about taking down about it today, because coming into this matchup over on FS Friars team that has won games, that sits at the top of the Big O in conference play, by Bryce Hopkins, who's coming off a point performance in the win over. Hopkins has shifted here for the Friars. Carter's at it as well. Ed to the table in the win over Friars, make it 9 in a row. Be ranked in the AP top 20. Their net ranking has jumped from to 33. That is staggering. It is Friars to keep the winning streak going against this by Joel Soriano with 13 double-double. Coming up at 2 Eastern time, Marquette welcomes in the Golden Eagles have games, and if they win today, I think there's to be ranked on Monday that has surprised everybody. Nobody could have seen a top adjusted offensive efficiency rate here for Marquette, but they've done it within 16 games, has 1 assist. Kolick had stirs that string for you combine the scoring, you combine the play of Oso Iguodala, and then you think about Omac's 5 in the second half, and their win earlier this week. Something that is sustainable in the Eagles are flying high into another match. 30 Eastern time, FS1, Villanova. This is number 1 for Villanova win. A signature win. This is a quadrant 1 opportunity for who you think about have lost 3 Big East games. They're coming off one of those at the last weekend in Marquette. So, can they hold certainty? That's coming your way. 4:30 Xavier has won 8 in a row. Team, one of the hottest teams at 8:30 Eastern time. It's all. Here's a fun fact about this single time the Bulldogs MC. It's been a single. Expect drama. Expect tonight. Great guard matchup. A career best performance against DePaul. Again for Seton Hall, who's really taken off. Let's go around the Big East with the Athletic senior writer.
First of all, I think UConn is going through the education of a season. And the number 1 thing that they're learning is that trying to win on the road is a lot different than trying to win anywhere else. And it's a different style. And especially in the conference where people know you, no one's going to be intimidated by UConn's record to this point. In fact, they're going to be excited for the chance to beat them. And so I was quite surprised. I'm not surprised, obviously, that Xavier won that game. But I am surprised that UConn took so many 3-pointers. And, it's like, Hurley gets a late technical, which was a really bad technical just in terms of the flow of the game. And it helped, Xavier put the thing away. And he says, well, the free throw disparity. I'm like, well, how about the 3-point attempt disparity as well? Like, you're playing on the road. You're not going to get a great whistle. So why make it easy on the refs to put the other team on the line so many more times than you? And then they kind of repeated that against Providence. And, some of this is the nature of how teams are going to play them. They have some really good 3-point shooters in Newton and Hawkins, but they have kind of a non-shooter a little bit in Andre Jackson, who has the ball in his hands a lot. But most importantly is they have that 2-headed monster at the 5 that you got to protect. So, and defend against and double team. So they're kind of taking what the defense gives them, but they're also taking what the defense, like when a guy misses a three, it's like, there's a reason you're open, young man. So I think, UConn has to rejigger its personality. And Creighton, John, I've kind of ranted about this a little bit in my work at The Athletic. It's interesting. They have this 6-game losing streak, right? First of all, they lose by 2 points to Arizona, which is obviously no shame. They beat Texas Tech and Arkansas and Maui. They played pretty well at Texas, closed in, almost won that game. I know that you were there. They had that bad hiccup at home against Nebraska. I'm sure they took Nebraska lightly, had no idea that Nebraska is actually a pretty decent basketball team right now. So that happens. But then they lose 3 games in a row. So the streak goes to 6. But those 3 games, as you well know, John, they didn't have Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Right.
And he's not just their best player. He's the reigning Big East Defensive Player of the Year. He's one of the best two-way players in the country. You take a player of that caliber off any team and they're going to stumble. So it's like that lost 6 in a row and everyone's writing, oh, they're overrated and this and that. I'm like, no, they're not. They're not at full strength. Kalkbrenner comes back. They win 3 in a row. And now they have a big-time challenge at UConn. I obviously would like the Huskies to win the game, but there's a reason. And by the way, while Kalkbrenner was out, you had some other guys develop in terms of their minutes and their responsibilities. So, great day for college basketball, great game, unbelievable. It's a Gampel, right? It's not
It's at Gampel.
How great is that? How great is that? So you got to really like UConn in this one to come out, just ball of fire. I'm sure that Dan's been getting after them these last couple of days. It's going to be very, very hard for Creighton to win at that building. But even if that happens, that will not make me lose any faith in these Blue Jays. I think they're a Final Four caliber team.
Seth Davis, how does Ed Cooley do it?
You didn't see me making this prediction that Providence would be? It was right under my prediction that New Mexico would be the last undefeated team. Ed Cooley, man. I mean, can you think of a better fit in the entire sport between coach, school, program, community? He's one of their own. He knows what he wants. He knows how he coaches. He knows what he's looking for. And he's a straight up shooter. If you don't want to play his way and play for him, you got better options, because he's smart enough to know that if you hedge in the recruiting process, but particularly these days with the transfer portal, and you might be thinking you're getting a player who has quote unquote talent, but he can be a culture killer. And Ed Cooley, and I think it's so important these days with the portal, John, that these coaches are fiercely protective of their culture, because 1 or 2 guys who aren't quite aligned, and that's not a character assassination, but I'm talking about alignment, and it can throw the whole thing off. You're talking about a team that was the surprise winner last year of the Big East. Nobody really saw that coming. Obviously won a ton of close games, lost 4 starters, and he's restocked. And by the way, he won that game with the lone returning starter, Jared Bynum, was limited. I guess he was sick. Yep. And they won that game because they know who they are. Bryce Hopkins, I can't imagine how painful it must be for Kentucky fans to watch what he's doing at Providence, but Providence is a better fit for him than Kentucky playing that style. So, it's just a matter of knowing who you are, knowing how you need to play to be able to succeed where you're at, and then finding the players who have both the talent, but also the psychological makeup to do it. So, I'm sure they'll have their stumbles, but they're an old team, and I think to play that way, being old is super important. And it's shocking but not surprising that they're in this position.
You talk with Shaka Smart. I talked with him earlier this week. He just feels so comfortable in his own skin at a basketball school that fits his realm. Maybe it's between VCU and Texas, and now this is the perfect form of him. Do you get that sense at all? And how surprised are you by Marquette?
A couple of things. First of all, Shaka, of course, is a Wisconsin native. Grew up in was it Madison or Milwaukee? I don't think it was Milwaukee. It was Madison, maybe.
Yep.
Out in that area. So that was always kind of part of the appeal of him going home again. I'll direct people to CJ Moore's story in The Athletic this week about Marquette and the Marquette offense, and no one's better than CJ at breaking stuff down. But the thing that struck me was Shaka talking about how, I always talked about the importance of defense, and defense wins games and defense wins championships. But, guys are human. They like to score. And so you can build toughness and you can build an identity over being a good offensive team. I mean, they are so much fun to watch. Oh. The way they move, the way they pass. And it all starts with Tyler Kolek having a point guard who really is an extension of the coach on the floor. Everybody buying in. And also Iguodaro, who's a classic glue guy, very much in the running for my all glue captain, John. I know it's very important to him. Being a great passing big man and playing off each other. It's just, it's really cool to watch it. And that's another team I'm looking at their record. All of their losses have been quality losses. At Purdue, a close one by 3 points to Mississippi State on a neutral court. In overtime against a good Wisconsin team at home, and then in double overtime at Providence. I mean, so no bad losses. It's great to see. I know how important basketball is to that university, that community, the city of Milwaukee, where the Bucks play. We'll see how things go. I mean, it's still early January. I'm sure they have some hiccups along the way, but it's a great example. Again, what we talked about at Cooley: coach, university, program, community, and it's working well, and it's great for college basketball.
Davis for the time. 2, Ryan Jays, who for the Jays. He is a player, and that's been evidenced as he missed 3 games for Creighton to the lineup and being the winning streak that they enter in the game today. Coming up noon Eastern time in UConn. Runner 15 and 8 per game. It's earlier this week against 7'1" junior Dots. 8 rebounds, 6. He is an elite rim protector. Donovan Clingan and Adama Sanogo. In a world where Sanogo's got, and rightfully so, extra motivating to make a statement today. I sat down with him about more in this special feature.
So I actually get all my basketball stuff from my mom, who played at SLU while she was in college. My dad actually played hockey in high school, and that was his athletic career. It was definitely interesting during the recruiting process. A lot of these coaches are used to talking to the dad as like the main person. They were like, no, you gotta talk to my mom. Well, I do miss being home with my family. It makes it a lot easier just getting that family feel everywhere you go here in Omaha. And it's kind of how we operate things at Creighton. It's about doing the little things. We like to play fast, so you gotta get really conditioned, which is what caught me off guard my freshman year. And then last year I actually got in shape, which was a big reason why I was able to get better.
Kalkbrenner, it looks like a totally different team defensively.
I know you can't always control if you're making shots, but you can control if you're playing hard on defense and being in the right spot on defense. At the end of the day, I'm gonna be like, I can control defense, so I'm gonna be good at that. I'll have some games where I put up 20 points, some games I'll put up 2, but that's fine as long as I'm playing defense. It's just where the mindset comes from.
Kalkbrenner again!
That's a big honor to have people recognize that and get the award. And I wasn't expecting to get it. I was kind of surprised, but I'm really glad I got it. Right after it happened, like when I'm still on the court, I'm like, mine's going the worst case scenario. It's really crazy because I've never had an injury like that before, but you just gotta find a way to support your teammates in the next game and cheer them on. The worst part was the first month I had to be in a straight leg brace and just couldn't move it at all. The injury ended up being, if you're gonna tear something in your knee, what I did was probably the best thing to do. Halfway through the summer, like beginning of mid-July, I took the brace off, was in full contact, and we've been good since.
Kalkbrenner, the two-hand jam, count it, and the foul.
I think they say for every day you're out, it takes another day to get back to where you are. So in my case, it took 3 months to get back on the court, another 3 months to get back where I was before injury. Obviously, when you get right back on the court, you're not going to be the same player as you were when you got hurt. So it's that telling yourself, okay, I'm not the player I was yet, but I'm on the road back there. I think it's a fun game. I mean, rivalry games are fun always in general. Always a good team. We've beaten them 5 times, but like, they could have gone either way most of the time. They were all close games. So it's a fun game, fun rivalry for me. As far as playing Sano goes, like, it's fun because I know a lot of people pick him above me in like Big East teams, and the All-American team came out and he was above me. I just got to show people that that was the wrong choice. It motivates me a lot, especially because when I was looking at like our head-to-head performances last year, I didn't think it was that close, to be honest with you. Just got to prove myself right this year and then make people change their minds. Deep run in March. That's the only thing I care about. That's what you play basketball for, to win. I think we have way more talent than we've ever had here at Creighton. Last year, we were all young, but we were super connected, and we're carrying that connectiveness over to this year while being a super talented team. I think those two things combined are just going to give us the biggest advantage we have. I know we got a lot of really good players. That's the beauty of this team. Like, all starting five, even bench players could come in and be that guy for a game. So all I really care about is getting deep into March.
Wrapping things up here on Gampel Pavilion. Thank you to Seth Falkberger, to Dan Hurley, to Don. Another rundown of the spots. Number 4, UConn, coming up, welcoming in a Creighton team that has never won 3 in a row. Intriguing over on FS1. Then at 2 Eastern time, Georgia at 4:30 Eastern, fast stadium at Villanova. Can the Villanova for the first time? We'll see for the first time ever. Then at 8, Hall and Butler. So long, every basketball.